If you can read people fast, you stop guessing and start understanding. This isn't just a skill, it's your personal edge in today's world. Psychology of human behavior. How to read people instantly is not about tricks, it's about truth. People show you who they are in small moments, in how they move, speak, react and respond. But most never notice. This audiobook will teach you how to see what others miss. Have you ever felt unsure about someone's real intentions? Wondered if you could trust a person just based on how they act? You don't need to wait for someone to explain themselves. You can learn to read their mood, mindset, and character right in the moment. These lessons are built for real life, simple, powerful, and deeply human. You'll gain clarity, confidence, and control in your relationships, decisions, and everyday interactions. This is how you level up your awareness. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Notice what people hide, not say. People talk all day long, and most of what they say is not where the truth lives. Words are easy to shape. Words can be rehearsed. Words can be polite while the heart is uneasy. If you want to understand human behavior, you must train yourself to notice what people hide, not say. This is not about becoming suspicious or cold. This is about becoming aware, awake, and grounded in reality. Human beings protect themselves. From a young age we learn that some feelings are welcome and some are not. We learn when to smile, even when we feel pressure inside. We learn how to agree while holding doubt. We learn how to sound confident while feeling unsure. This is not evil, this is survival. Understanding this will change how you see people forever. Most people listen only to words. That is why they miss so much. They hear promises but ignore hesitation. They hear confidence but ignore tension. They hear agreement but ignore resistance. If you rely only on words, you will be confused often and disappointed often. If you train your awareness beyond words, you gain clarity. When someone speaks, pay attention to timing. Pay attention to pauses. A pause can tell you more than a sentence. When someone delays an answer, the mind is sorting something out. It could be uncertainty. It could be discomfort. It could be a hidden concern. The pause is information. Do not rush to fill it. Silence invites truth to surface. Watch the face when the words are positive. Does the face relax or tighten? Does the jaw set? Do the eyes soften or harden? These changes happen fast, and most people do not control them well. The body reacts before the mind finishes editing the sentence. That reaction is honest. Listen to tone, not just content. Two people can say the same sentence with very different meanings. Tone carries emotion. Emotion carries truth. A flat tone during exciting news tells a story. A forced cheer tells a story. A calm voice during pressure tells a story. Train your ear to notice tone shifts. Notice what people avoid. Avoidance is loud if you are paying attention. When a topic keeps being redirected, there is something there. When a question gets answered with another question, there is something there. When details stay vague, there is something there. People move away from what makes them uncomfortable. Observe energy, not performance. People can perform well for short periods. Energy is harder to fake for long. Does someone seem drained after speaking about a certain subject? Do they become restless? Do they disengage? Energy drops when truth feels heavy. Notice consistency over time. Anyone can appear one way for a moment. Real behavior repeats. Pay attention to patterns. What happens when plans change? What happens when pressure appears? What happens when praise disappears? Character shows itself when conditions are not ideal. Understand that fear is a powerful driver. Fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear of loss, fear of judgment. These fears shape behavior quietly. When someone over-explains, they may fear being misunderstood. When someone dominates conversations, they may fear being ignored. When someone avoids decisions, they may fear responsibility. Do not judge this, understand it. Judgment closes your mind. Understanding opens it. When you understand fear, you respond with wisdom instead of reaction. Watch hands and posture. When people feel safe, the body opens. When people feel threatened, the body protects. Arms cross, shoulders rise, movements become smaller. These signals often appear without awareness. The body speaks honestly when the mouth stays careful. Pay attention to mismatches. When words say yes but the body says no, you have a mismatch. When someone agrees but steps back physically, you have a mismatch. When someone says they are calm, but breath becomes shallow, you have a mismatch. The mismatch is the message. Do not call people out harshly. This is not about control. This is about understanding. When you see a mismatch, slow down. Ask simple questions. Give space. Truth often appears when pressure disappears. Notice how people treat those who cannot offer them anything. This behavior is rarely staged. It reveals values. It reveals respect. It reveals inner standards. Words can impress. Behavior reveals. Observe how people respond to small stress. A late meeting, a minor mistake, a change in plan. Stress lowers the mask. Under stress, the real habits appear. Some become rigid. Some become aggressive. Some become withdrawn. Some stay steady. These reactions matter. Notice how people listen. Someone who interrupts often hides impatience. Someone who waits may hide caution or care. Someone who avoids eye contact while listening may hide discomfort or insecurity. Listening behavior reveals internal state. Understand that people often hide from themselves before they hide from others. Many are unaware of their own motives. They speak from habit, not intention. When you understand this, you stop taking everything personally. You gain peace. Your own awareness matters most. If you are emotionally reactive, you will misread others. If you are calm, you will see clearly. Control your responses. Slow your breathing. Stay grounded. A steady observer sees what a restless mind misses. Reading people starts with reading yourself. Notice when you project. Notice when you assume. Notice when past experiences color present moments. Clean perception requires discipline. Use curiosity, not suspicion. Curiosity keeps you open. Suspicion closes you. Ask internally, why not? What is wrong? Why is this person tense? Why is this answer delayed? Why is this energy low? Why opens understanding. Notice what people do when they think no one is watching. Small habits tell big stories. How they treat time, how they keep commitments, how they speak about others. These moments are not polished. Words are often designed to protect image. Behavior protects truth less effectively. If you want to read people instantly, you must stop being impressed by words and start respecting signals. This skill improves relationships. You choose better partners. You choose better friends. You lead better. You avoid unnecessary conflict. You stop chasing approval from people who cannot give it. You become patient. You become observant. You become wise. People will tell you who they are if you watch long enough. Often they tell you quickly if you know where to look, not in their speeches, not in their promises, in their reactions, in their silence, in their patterns. This is not manipulation. This is understanding. Understanding creates compassion. Compassion creates better decisions. Better decisions create a better life. Develop this habit daily, in conversations, in meetings, at home, in public. Watch without judging. Listen without rushing. Notice without reacting. Over time, clarity becomes natural. You stop guessing. You stop forcing outcomes. You respond with calm confidence. The world rewards those who see clearly. Those who see clearly act wisely. Those who act wisely build strong lives. Train your awareness. Respect human complexity. Trust what behavior shows you. People hide many things with words. They reveal much more without them. Chapter 2. Read emotions before words come out. Human behavior begins with emotion long before language shows up. A feeling appears first. The body reacts. The mind then looks for words to explain or defend or soften what is already happening inside. If you want to understand people quickly and accurately, you must learn to read emotions before words come out. This skill changes how you communicate, how you lead, how you protect your time, and how you choose who deserves your trust. Most people wait for words because words feel safe, words feel clear. But words arrive late. By the time a sentence is spoken, the emotion has already made its decision. Approval, resistance, fear, excitement, doubt all appear in the body first. If you train yourself to notice those early signals, you stop guessing and start understanding. Emotion always leaks. Always. Even the most controlled person cannot fully hide it. The leak may be small, but it is there. A breath changes. Eyes shift. Muscles tighten. Posture adjusts. These changes happen fast and quietly, but they are reliable if you are paying attention. Watch the face before the mouth opens. The face reacts honestly for a split second. That moment matters. A quick tightening around the eyes, a brief lowering of the brows, a flash of surprise. These are real signals. Words may follow that try to explain them away, but the first reaction is pure. Notice breathing. When emotion rises, breathing changes immediately. Fear shortens the breath. Relief deepens it. Anger sharpens it. Calm slows it. You do not need training to notice this. You need presence. Stay aware, and breathing patterns will speak clearly. Pay attention to the eyes. Eyes move toward what feels safe and away from what feels uncomfortable. When a topic touches a sensitive area, eyes often break contact. When confidence is present, eye contact stays relaxed, not forced. Forced eye contact often hides tension, not strength. Listen to the speed of speech before content matters. Emotion controls pace. Excitement speeds words up. Nervousness stumbles them. Confidence steadies them. Hesitation stretches them. The speed tells you what the heart feels before the sentence finishes. Notice posture shifts. When people feel threatened, the body protects. When people feel open, the body relaxes. Shoulders lift or drop. The spine straightens or collapses slightly. These shifts happen before any explanation arrives. Emotion also appears in timing. A delayed response often signals uncertainty or internal conflict. A quick response may signal comfort or habit. Neither is good or bad. They are information. Learn to respect timing. People often say they are fine, while emotion says otherwise. Do not argue with the words. Do not challenge directly. Just note the difference. The difference is where truth lives. Understand that people often hide emotions because they were taught to. Many learned early that showing feelings was unsafe or unwelcome. They learned to speak correctly while feeling incorrectly. This habit becomes automatic. Recognizing it creates patience instead of frustration. Do not assume emotion equals intention. A person can feel fear and still act with integrity. A person can feel excitement and still make poor decisions. Emotion is data, not judgment. Use it wisely. Your own emotional state matters here. If you are anxious, you will misread others. If you are angry, you will project. Calm observation is the foundation of accuracy. Learn to slow yourself first. When you feel yourself reacting, pause internally. Breathe. Ground your attention. This creates space between what you feel and what you see. In that space, perception sharpens. Notice emotional patterns, not moments. One signal alone means little. Repeated signals mean much. Consistency reveals truth. Emotion that appears again and again around the same subject is meaningful. Pay attention to emotional shifts when new information enters. Watch what changes. Does tension rise or fall? Does engagement increase or fade? This response tells you whether the information aligns or conflicts with inner beliefs. Emotion often shows strongest when control is relaxed. Casual moments reveal more than formal ones. Hallway conversations. Unplanned questions. Small talk. These moments matter. Understand that emotion drives behavior more than logic. People decide emotionally and explain logically. If you want to predict behavior, read the emotion, not the explanation. Notice micro-reactions when expectations change. A small frown, a quick inhale, a pause. These reveal whether the change is welcomed or resisted. Learn to sit comfortably with silence. Silence invites emotion to surface. Many people fill silence to hide discomfort. Let silence work for you. Do not rush to respond. When you slow down, others reveal more. Calm presence lowers defenses. Use simple observations instead of accusations. Saying you seem unsure invites honesty more than saying you are wrong. Gentle language keeps emotion visible. Emotion also appears in energy. Some people lean in when interested. Some withdraw when overwhelmed. Energy direction matters. Be careful not to turn this skill into control. Understanding emotion is for clarity and respect, not advantage. When misused, it damages trust. This ability improves leadership. You sense morale early. You address concerns before they grow. You support people where they truly are, not where they pretend to be. This ability improves relationships. You respond to feelings, not arguments. You reduce conflict. You increase connection. This ability improves self-respect. You stop ignoring warning signs. You stop explaining away discomfort. You listen to reality. Emotion before words is truth before polish. It is raw and honest and fast. Train your attention there. Practice daily. In small interactions, at work, at home, in public spaces. Observe without labeling. Learn without reacting. Over time, you will notice clarity replacing confusion, confidence replacing doubt, calm replacing anxiety. You will stop being surprised by behavior because you saw it coming. Human behavior becomes simpler when you respect emotion first. Words follow emotion. Always. Read the emotion and the words will make sense. Chapter 3. Catch lies through natural reactions. Every time someone lies, their body speaks first. Before the brain finishes crafting the perfect sentence, the body has already reacted. A lie demands effort to create, to maintain, and to defend. And effort leaves traces. If you train your eyes, your ears, and your awareness to catch those natural reactions, you'll stop relying on guesswork and start recognizing the truth that people try to hide. A lie creates pressure. That pressure triggers small but real changes in how a person breathes, blinks, moves, and responds. These changes are not obvious to everyone. That's why most people get fooled. But the changes are there. They appear in the moment a question is asked. They appear in the delay before the answer. They appear in the little ways the body adjusts itself. Truth is calm. Lies are tight. When someone is telling the truth, their tone usually flows. There's ease. Their face matches their words. Their shoulders stay level. Their breath stays even. But when someone lies, you often see hesitation. You see blinking increase. You see the corners of the mouth tighten slightly. You see the head pull back as if trying to put space between them and the statement. These aren't signs of guilt. They're signs of tension. And tension always shows up somewhere. Catching lies isn't about calling people out. It's not about being suspicious of everyone. It's about protecting yourself. It's about seeing the world clearly. It's about responding to what's real instead of what sounds good. That clarity can save you from broken promises, fake friendships, wrong decisions, and wasted time. One of the easiest signals to watch for is sudden changes. If a person goes from relaxed to rigid when asked something simple, that shift might be important. If their tone changes sharply, or if they suddenly adjust how they're sitting, or if their voice gets quieter or louder out of nowhere, your attention should sharpen. These reactions happen fast and are not controlled consciously. They're the body's way of coping with stress, and lying is stressful. You don't need to study every blink or twitch like a machine. You just need to be present and alert. Focus on how people behave when they're comfortable. That becomes your baseline. Then you'll notice when something breaks the pattern. That's the key. The difference between someone's normal and their stressed version. Everyone has their own baseline, so never rely on general rules alone. Study the person, not just the behavior. Another strong signal is defensiveness. People who lie often try to over-explain. They give too many details, not to inform you but to convince you. Truth usually needs less decoration. A simple answer feels complete. A lie often sounds like a performance. Listen for language that sounds rehearsed or overly polite. Listen for repeated phrases that don't fit the tone of the moment. Genuine people answer the question directly. They don't dodge. They don't delay. They don't repeat the question before answering it. Liars often stall because they need time to think. They may change the subject slightly. They may add a joke. They may answer a different question instead of the one asked. These tricks are meant to distract you, and they often work when people aren't paying close attention. Pay attention to how someone uses their hands. Most people use hand gestures naturally when they speak, but when lying, gestures often disappear. The hands stay still, or they become fidgety, tapping, rubbing, or moving toward the face. These movements are signs of discomfort. The person might not know they're doing it, but it's a response to internal stress. When the inside is unsettled, the outside leaks signs. Eye contact is another tool, but not in the way most people think. Liars don't always look away. In fact, some try too hard to maintain eye contact, thinking that looking directly at you will make them seem honest. That intense stare can be a mask. What matters more is how the eyes behave overall. Are they darting around? Do they blink more than usual? Do they suddenly avoid your gaze when a specific question is asked? Those shifts matter. Some people lie with charm. They smile, they flatter, they appear confident, but the charm is often covering nervous energy. Don't be distracted by confidence if something feels off underneath. The goal isn't to distrust everyone who smiles. It's to notice when the emotion on the face doesn't match the situation. A smile during a serious moment, or a laugh when nothing's funny, can point to discomfort. Tone of voice carries even more weight than words. When someone lies, their pitch often rises slightly. The voice may become thinner or shakier. Words may be rushed or unusually slow. Listen not just to what is said, but how it's said. People cannot fake tone for long. It's shaped by their emotional state, not their script. Also observe timing. If someone answers too quickly, with a too perfect answer, that can be a red flag. Most honest people take a moment to recall something. They reflect. A lie is often ready-made. On the other hand, long pauses before basic answers can also suggest that something is being carefully crafted instead of recalled. You can also watch for guilt or anxiety that follows a lie. After giving a dishonest answer, people may act extra nice. They may try to shift attention away, or they may suddenly end the conversation. Lies often leave people emotionally unsettled. That emotional response doesn't disappear quickly. Microexpressions are small, fast facial movements that show what a person really feels before they control it. These flashes of emotion can appear in the eyes, the eyebrows, the mouth. You may see a flash of fear or anger right before a smile. These moments are quick, but powerful. Train yourself to catch them. You don't need to name them. Just notice them. Lying takes energy. Holding a lie over time takes even more. Watch what happens as the conversation continues. Does the person seem to get more tired or more guarded? Do they become quieter or overly defensive? Do they start contradicting small details they shared earlier? These are signs that the lie is wearing on them. Catch lies by staying calm and quiet. Don't interrupt. Don't confront too fast. Just observe. The more pressure you add, the more the other person locks up. If your goal is truth, you need patience. The longer you allow someone to speak, the more their real self comes through. Truth flows. Lies run out of room. One of the most powerful things you can do is ask the same question again later, slightly differently. Liars often forget the story they told. Honest people might give more details, but their core answers remain consistent. Inconsistency over time is one of the strongest indicators of deception. Train your attention in real life. Watch people during everyday conversations. Notice their habits. Notice how they change under pressure. Don't try to catch every lie. Focus instead on understanding behavior. The more you understand how people normally respond, the easier it is to detect when something is forced. This skill builds self-respect. You stop ignoring red flags. You stop letting people talk you into confusion. You trust what you see and sense, not just what you hear, and that gives you strength. Catching lies isn't about becoming hard or bitter. It's about becoming clear. It's about protecting your time,
your energy, and your peace. Learn to watch, not just listen. Learn to observe, not just assume. Truth is always there. It's just rarely announced. It's revealed in the natural reactions that happen before the words are chosen. Train yourself to see them, and you will never look at people the same way again.
Chapter 4. Understand people by how they respond. How someone responds tells you more than what they say. Responses reveal values, priorities, emotions, and identity without needing big explanations. You don't need someone to open up completely to understand who they are. All you need to do is notice how they respond to pressure, to honesty, to mistakes, to being challenged, to being praised, to silence, to questions they weren't expecting. Their reactions show you who they are when they aren't trying to be anything. When a person feels seen or confronted, even kindly, the way they respond gives you real insight. Do they become defensive or open? Do they pause to think or rush to deflect? Do they ask for clarity or push back with sarcasm? These details matter more than the words themselves. They reveal maturity. They reveal mindset. They reveal whether the person is hiding, learning, or listening. You can't fake a natural response. That's why it's so valuable. A reaction is instant. There's no time to rehearse. The body moves, the voice shifts, the face tells the truth. If you pay attention during these moments, you don't need deep psychology, you just need awareness. Some people smile when they feel criticized. It's not because they're happy, it's because they've learned to protect themselves by pretending to be unaffected. Some go silent, not because they have nothing to say, but because they've been punished before for speaking honestly. Some respond with aggression because they feel unsafe the moment someone gets too close to the truth. If you rush to judge these reactions, you'll miss the human underneath. But if you pause and watch, you'll understand much more than what's on the surface. People reveal their mindset in how they handle being wrong. Some admit it calmly and thank you. That shows growth. Some joke to escape it. That shows discomfort. Some blame others immediately. That shows fear. It's not about perfect behavior, it's about honest behavior. And honest behavior starts when pressure shows up. You learn about someone by how they respond to your boundaries. If you say no and they respect it, you're dealing with someone who understands space. If they push back or guilt trip you, they are used to getting their way. That moment teaches you more than a dozen friendly conversations. Watch how people respond to praise. Some accept it humbly, some deflect it entirely, some use it as a moment to boast. Some can't accept it at all. These responses tell you how they see themselves. People who are deeply insecure often struggle to receive positive feedback because it doesn't match the voice in their head. On the other hand, people who crave validation might chase every compliment with a louder performance. Understanding someone doesn't mean diagnosing them. It means being present, paying attention to what moves them, what shuts them down, what lights them up. You don't need to ask endless questions, just observe. How do they react when someone else gets attention? Do they become supportive or quiet or competitive? That single moment shows you their emotional maturity. Responses during disagreement are especially revealing. Some people stay grounded and open, others raise their voice or try to dominate. Some stop listening altogether. It's easy to be kind when everything is going well. Real character shows up during conflict. The way someone handles disagreement tells you if they're safe to build with or not. If someone gets angry the moment they feel misunderstood, that tells you they haven't yet learned to sit with discomfort. If someone explains calmly and listens with care, that tells you they value connection over ego. These are the signals that shape your decision to trust or step back. Even silence is a response. Some people go quiet not out of peace, but because they are scared or overwhelmed. Others go quiet because they are thinking deeply. Learn to feel the difference. Don't fill the silence too quickly. That's where you'll often learn the most. When someone makes a mistake, do they take responsibility or disappear? Do they own it and move forward, or do they hide behind excuses? These responses are not just habits. They reflect how the person was raised, what they believe about failure, and how much self-awareness they have. Understand that everyone has a story behind their response, but it's still your responsibility to decide what kind of responses you want around you. You can have compassion without accepting unhealthy behavior. That's what self-respect looks like. How someone responds to your truth also matters. Share something vulnerable and observe. Do they change the subject? Do they make it about themselves? Do they sit with you and listen? That moment teaches you if this person can hold space for you, or if they're only safe for surface-level talk. Some people respond with performance. They know what to say. They've read the books. They sound supportive. But their tone is off. Their energy is distant. Their follow-up is missing. Performance can't replace presence. And if you're tuned in, you'll notice the difference. You don't need to test people. Life will do that for you. Watch how they react when plans fall through. Watch how they speak about others when those people aren't around. Watch how they respond to someone weaker or someone they can't benefit from. These unscripted moments reveal core belief. Understanding others is not about being perfect at reading them. It's about staying aware and curious. It's about noticing the patterns, the timing, the small breaks in tone. People don't always mean what they say, but they always mean what they show through their response. You also understand someone by how they respond to your growth. If you set higher standards, do they support you or mock you? If you create distance for your well-being, do they respect it or fight it? Growth often makes people uncomfortable, and that discomfort leads to honest reaction. Pay attention to how someone responds when you share good news. Do they celebrate with you or do they go quiet? That simple moment tells you if they can feel joy without comparison, and that's rare. The more tuned in you become, the more clearly you'll see. You'll no longer be distracted by smooth talk or empty gestures. You'll feel the truth in the response, whether it's supportive, defensive, dismissive, or sincere. This skill makes you stronger. You stop doubting your instincts. You stop staying in the wrong rooms. You stop trying to convince people who are already showing you who they are. It also makes your relationships better. You begin choosing people who respond with honesty, patience, kindness, and self-awareness. You build connection on something real. You understand others not by what they promise, but by what they show when life presses on them. And once you learn to read that, you begin moving through the world with confidence and clarity. Train yourself to watch closely. Stay calm in conversations. Notice the shift. That's how you'll learn more in 5 minutes of attention than in 5 hours of talk. Responses are windows into the inner world. If you're willing to pay attention, you'll see what most miss. You'll stop asking what did they say, and start asking how did they respond. And that change in focus will shift your entire understanding of people for life. Chapter 5. Sense confidence, fear, and insecurity quickly. You can tell who someone is long before they tell you. You can feel it in how they walk into a room. You can hear it in the first few words they say. You can see it in their hands, their eyes, their voice. Confidence, fear, and insecurity don't need an introduction. They express themselves in natural reactions, in posture, in tone, in how people hold themselves when nothing is being said. Confidence is quiet, but it's not small. It doesn't beg for attention. It doesn't prove anything. When someone's confident, they don't need to dominate the space. They just take their place in it, naturally. They don't speak to be loud. They speak to connect. They don't oversell themselves. They speak with clarity and calm. Their words match their body. You don't feel tension when you're around them. You feel stability. That's confidence. And the moment you sense it, you know it. Fear, on the other hand, is sharp. It shows up fast and often hides behind overthinking or silence. Fearful people hesitate, not because they don't have something to say, but because they don't feel safe saying it. Their shoulders might round inward, their energy might shrink. They might avoid eye contact or give too much of it all at once. Fear doesn't always show as panic. Sometimes, it just looks like someone trying not to mess up. Insecurity carries a different tone. It's often loud, not in volume but in effort. Insecure people often try too hard to impress. They may talk too much, agree too quickly, or force confidence through exaggerated stories or constant self-comparisons. The words might be smooth, but the body is tight. The laugh comes a second too late. The compliment feels rehearsed. There's an emotional pressure they carry with them, the pressure to be enough, and you can sense it even when they smile. Reading these emotional states isn't about becoming an expert, it's about becoming present. People are constantly revealing themselves, not by what they say, but by how they respond to the world around them. Watch how they act when plans change. Watch how they speak when no one is praising them. Watch how they show up when they don't know the answer. Those are the moments where real emotion breaks through the surface. Confidence doesn't flinch under challenge. It might pause, it might reflect, but it doesn't crumble. You'll see it when someone admits they don't know something and doesn't feel ashamed. You'll hear it when someone says no without apologizing for it. You'll sense it in how they hold eye contact without forcing it. It's not about perfection, it's about self-trust. Fear tends to react. It rushes. It tries to fix or hide. You'll see it in quick glances, nervous touches to the face or neck, repeated justifications. People in fear look for exits. Not physical exits, but emotional ones. They change subjects. They laugh nervously. They redirect the attention. It's not weakness. It's protection. Insecurity is more about self-image. It makes people chase approval. You can see it when someone needs constant reassurance, or when they downplay themselves so that others will build them back up. You'll hear it in how often they compare themselves to others. You'll see it in how often they seek attention, not just presence, and often they'll try to mask it with fake confidence. But fake confidence always needs an audience. Genuine confidence doesn't need applause. It doesn't need to be seen to feel strong. It simply exists. It's in how someone responds to pressure, not with panic, but with breath. It's in how they speak when they're unsure, not with fear, but with openness. It's in how they carry failure, not as a loss, but as feedback. To sense these states quickly, tune in to the body language first.
The body speaks before the words do. Is the posture open or guarded, or the hands expressive or clenched? Is the face relaxed or tight? These signals don't lie. Confidence relaxes the body. Fear tightens it. Insecurity controls it. Also, listen closely to how people talk about themselves. A confident person owns their wins without arrogance and owns their flaws without shame. A fearful person might minimize their abilities or avoid standing out. An insecure person might speak too highly of themselves in front of others, only to doubt themselves in private. Pay attention to those shifts. The tone of voice matters too. A steady, calm tone often reflects emotional control. A shaky voice, a sudden pitch change, a forced laugh, all can hint at inattention. Someone speaking confidently isn't rushing. They take pauses. They aren't afraid of silence. Someone who's afraid often fills every gap, as if stillness might expose them. Another clue is how someone responds to compliments. Confident people accept compliments with simple acknowledgement. They don't need to over-explain it or deflect it. Fearful people may question it or seem unsure how to receive it. Insecure people might latch onto it or use it to boost their self-image too much. Watch the balance. You'll also learn a lot by watching how people treat others. Confidence respects. Insecurity competes. Fear avoids or follows. Someone who builds others up without losing their sense of self is carrying a strong foundation. Someone who always needs to be the smartest, the strongest, the best, is usually afraid of being ignored or unseen. These emotional drives shape behavior more than logic ever will. Confidence allows people to listen. It doesn't interrupt. It doesn't need to prove a point. Insecurity needs to be right. Fear avoids disagreement. How people listen is often more honest than how they speak. Pay close attention to what triggers a person. What makes them shut down? What makes them overreact? Emotional triggers point to fear or insecurity. Confident people still get triggered, but they reflect instead of explode. They respond instead of react. That's what emotional discipline looks like. Also, look at consistency. Confidence is stable. Insecurity and fear fluctuate with the environment. If someone is warm in one room and cold in another, supportive with some and dismissive with others, they're not grounded. Confidence doesn't change with the audience. To truly sense confidence, fear and insecurity, you must train your awareness. Not just what you see, but what you feel around someone. Do you feel calm? Do you feel tension? Do you feel like they're real? Your nervous system often picks up what your eyes miss. Trust that. This isn't about judging people. It's about understanding people. When you can recognize what someone's carrying emotionally, you can decide how to engage. You can offer support, or protect your energy, or hold your ground with clarity. This also helps you understand yourself better. When do you feel most like yourself? When do you shrink? When do you exaggerate your worth, or hide your strengths? The more honest you are with your own responses, the more skilled you'll become at reading them in others. It's not about being perfect at this. It's about paying attention. Confidence feels different than noise. Fear feels different than silence. Insecurity feels different than vulnerability. These emotions carry a frequency, and you can feel it if you slow down and tune in. The goal isn't to label people, it's to read energy, sense intention, and make wise decisions. The faster you can recognize confidence, fear and insecurity, the better your conversations become. the clearer your boundaries become, and the stronger your relationships become. Watch closely. Listen fully. Trust what people show you, because the way they carry themselves when they think no one's watching, that's the truth. And when you can see the truth early, you move through life with clarity and strength. That's what turns emotional awareness into personal power.
Chapter 6. Read intentions from everyday behavior shifts. Every person reveals their intentions long before they speak them out loud. They show it in the little things, not in the big actions, but in the daily patterns most people ignore. The way someone checks in with you, the way their tone shifts during different conversations, the small changes in how they show up. These are the signs that tell you what someone really wants, what they're moving toward, and what they're avoiding. If you're observant, these behavior shifts will give you a clear view of a person's direction, even when their words are uncertain. You don't need to be suspicious or overanalyze everything. That's not the point. The goal is to pay attention to patterns that change over time. When someone's behavior shifts, even in a small way, that shift is a signal. And behind every signal is an intention, conscious or unconscious. Someone starts showing up later than usual. Someone stops asking certain questions. Someone changes how they respond to good news. Those changes aren't random. People don't change behavior without reason. Something is happening underneath. A person who suddenly becomes more distant without explanation is communicating. They may not want to talk about it, but their actions already have. The intention might be to create space, to protect themselves, to prepare for a change, or even to test your reaction. When someone who used to be warm becomes cold, or someone who was quiet becomes overly engaging, something behind the scenes is shifting. It could be interest growing, it could be interest fading. But either way, the behavior shift is the clue. You can also spot changing priorities through behavior. When a person begins to talk less about what used to excite them, or they stop showing up where they used to be reliable, it often means their focus is moving. It might not be dramatic. It might not be meant to hurt you, but it's still real. People drift in small steps, not in loud announcements. Watch how someone responds when there's nothing to gain. Do they still treat you with consistency, or do they pull away, become short, or act distracted? These small signs reflect intentions more clearly than any planned message. If someone shows up with kindness even when no one's watching, you're seeing real values. If they shift based on what benefits them in the moment, their loyalty is tied to advantage, not connection. Observe their energy when they think you're not noticing. Do they lean in when you speak, or subtly check out? Do they listen closely or start giving vague responses? A shift in attention often reveals where their mind has gone. If someone is emotionally invested, they stay present. If their interest has moved elsewhere, it will show in these everyday moments: how they reply, how long they take, and how often they check in without being asked. Intentions become visible in how people react to opportunities. Someone who's hungry for progress will step forward without being pushed. Someone who's hesitant might stall, overthink, or quietly back out. You don't need them to explain everything. Just watch how they behave when something is offered. How a person handles responsibility, challenge, or praise can show you whether they want growth or comfort. Another powerful sign is how people treat small commitments. If someone says they'll call you back but doesn't, or promises to follow up but forgets often, those aren't just bad habits, they reflect deeper priorities. Consistency in small areas points to clarity and intention. People who mean what they say follow through.
People who don't follow through may not be malicious, but their actions still show where you stand in their world. Read intention through how people make time. Everyone is busy, but the truth is we prioritize what matters to us. If someone starts canceling more often, replying less, or taking longer to get back to you, you don't need to guess how they feel. Their behavior has shifted, whether it's stress, change of interest, or avoidance. Something has changed, and it's your job to notice, not to chase explanations that aren't being given. When someone's tone changes, pay attention. A person who once spoke with excitement, but now sounds neutral, might be pulling back emotionally. A shift in tone during simple conversations, even greetings, reveals internal shifts. When someone stops asking about your life, or stops mentioning the future, it might mean they're unsure about staying connected. Again, the goal isn't to panic, it's to see what's in front of you. Body language is also a reliable source of truth. If someone's posture becomes more closed off over time, if eye contact becomes less frequent, if physical distance increases, these cues reflect emotional distance. If you notice these things paired with changes in voice and tone, you're seeing someone whose intentions are no longer aligned with what they once seemed to be. Behavior shifts also show up when someone is hiding something. They may become overly nice. They may check in more than usual, but their words feel hollow. People who carry guilt or confusion often try to cover it with kindness that feels off. It's not always about deception. Sometimes it's about internal conflict. But when behavior becomes inconsistent, something deeper is going on. Observe how someone speaks about others over time. When someone who once respected a person now speaks about them with sarcasm or detachment, it means a shift has taken place. That emotional change can point to a deeper intention forming, possibly to step away, to compete, or to let go. Speech patterns reveal alignment, disconnection, and changing beliefs. Intentions are also revealed through decisions, even small ones. If someone who used to include you in plans suddenly forgets to mention something important, that choice reflects a shift in closeness. When a person who always sought your opinion stops asking, they may be preparing to move forward on their own. Behavior reveals direction. You can also learn from how people respond to your boundaries. Someone whose intention is connection will listen, adjust, and stay respectful. Someone who resists, questions, or ignores your limits is often driven by personal benefit or control. Boundaries test true motives. Responses show you who sees you and who only sees their own needs. Don't ignore the positive shifts either. Someone who starts checking in more often, who starts showing up more consistently, who makes space for you even when life is full. Their behavior is telling you something too. Intentions aren't just revealed in distancing, they're revealed in effort. If someone leans in with no pressure from you, that's real. You don't need perfect words, you just need to watch how their presence grows. This skill sharpens over time. You begin to see movement before people say anything. You notice energy changing before the conversation turns. You don't accuse, you don't assume, you just stay awake. And from that awareness, you adjust. You stop chasing people whose energy has left the room. You stop trusting words that don't match behavior. You stop giving your time to people whose direction doesn't include you anymore. The more you study behavior shifts, the more you realize how much people are always communicating. Intention is never completely hidden, it always shows somewhere. In small delays, in forgotten details, in changing tone, in updated priority. And if you stay observant, you'll never be confused for long. People don't change overnight, but they do shift, and every shift says something. When you learn to listen with your eyes and feel with your attention, you begin to move through relationships with clarity, peace, and strength. You stop asking for honesty because you've already seen it.
Chapter 7. Spot truth when words sound right. Just because words sound right doesn't mean they carry the truth. People are good at saying the right thing, especially when they want something. They've learned what to say to seem sincere, what phrases to use to sound trustworthy, and how to package their sentences so they come across as honest. But the truth doesn't live in perfect sentences. It lives in alignment, the alignment between what is said, how it's said, and what shows up after. If you want to see the truth, you have to look past polished language and into the deeper signals that most people miss. When someone speaks with smooth delivery, it's easy to believe them, but that's where you need to pay more attention. Words that feel too polished might be rehearsed. Words that sound overly careful might be shaped to influence you. The truth doesn't always come dressed up. Sometimes it's messy, sometimes it comes with pauses. Sometimes it lacks confidence, but you can feel when it's real. The voice may be quiet, but the message carries weight. People can say everything right and still mean none of it. They can promise without intention. They can agree without commitment. They can express care while emotionally checking out. This doesn't always mean they're lying. Sometimes they're unsure of themselves. Sometimes they're saying what they believe you want to hear. But regardless of the reason, if the words don't match the energy, something is off, and your job is to notice that disconnection. You can spot truth by slowing down your reactions. Don't rush to believe something just because it makes you feel good in the moment. Ask yourself, does this person's past behavior support what they're saying now? Do their actions consistently reflect this belief? Does their body language match their message? If the answer is no, the truth might be hidden behind the comfort of their words. Tone is a strong indicator of truth. When someone speaks with conviction, but without trying to convince you, that's worth listening to. Truth doesn't need to be forced. It doesn't beg to be believed. It's steady. It's clean. It doesn't try too hard. On the other hand, when someone over-explains or pushes the point repeatedly, that's a sign of pressure. That pressure often means the message is built on hope, not honesty. Watch how someone reacts when questioned. The truth welcomes clarification. It doesn't panic. It might need a moment to organize, but it doesn't attack. If a person gets defensive, redirects the topic, or becomes irritated when asked for more detail, pay attention. They might be protecting something, not expressing it. People who are rooted in truth can speak calmly even when the topic is uncomfortable. Not because it's easy, but because there's nothing to hide. Genuine truth doesn't fear silence. Someone telling the truth can sit in a pause. They don't rush to fill the space with more words. They let their message land and allow you to process it. Someone trying to manipulate you with words will often talk too much, hoping to steer your thoughts. But when the words feel more like performance than presence, something's missing. You can also see truth in consistency. Someone who means what they say shows it in repeated behavior. Their words today match their choices tomorrow. Their beliefs show up in how they treat others, not just in how they speak to you. When the words and the walk match, trust can grow. When they don't, it's your cue to pause and reassess. Truth is often simple. It doesn't require long stories. It doesn't need dramatic delivery. In fact, people often speak their deepest truths in short, quiet moments. With honesty that doesn't try to impress. You'll feel it. It won't always be emotional, but it will be clear. You won't feel confused after hearing it. You'll feel settled, even if the truth is difficult. Listen for when someone's language suddenly becomes vague, when the details start fading, when their answers get shorter or more generic. Those are signs they're no longer aligned with what they're saying. Truth holds clarity. When that clarity disappears, you're likely hearing something that's been adjusted. Another way to read truth is by watching what people avoid. Sometimes the words sound fine, but the topics left untouched say more than what's being said. If someone keeps skipping over certain details, if they avoid talking about things that matter, that avoidance is meaningful. You don't have to push them, just observe what they leave out. The liolis around those areas is information. Truth is reflected in how someone shows up during difficult moments. Anyone can speak the right words when things are going well, but how do they speak when things are tense? How do they talk when they've made a mistake, or when they've let you down? Do they admit it, or do they reshape the story? Do they take responsibility, or do they blame others? Those responses are where the truth either stands or falls apart. Be careful with charm. Some people are naturally persuasive. They know how to mirror your energy, how to say the things that make you feel sick. That doesn't mean they're dishonest, but it also doesn't mean they're truthful. The most charming people are often the hardest to read, so don't rely on how they make you feel in the moment. Look at what their presence creates over time. Do they leave you feeling stable, or do they leave you questioning yourself? You'll find that people who speak from truth rarely need to correct themselves. Their story might not be perfect, but it stays consistent. They don't need to cover their tracks. They don't get lost in their own version. They speak from what they know and feel. It's not rehearsed, and that's exactly why it feels real. When someone tells you something important, watch their face, watch how they breathe, watch where their eyes go. Truth doesn't need to look away. It doesn't flicker. It might be emotional, but it's not confused. You can often see truth more clearly than you can hear it. If the words sound right but the body is unsettled, let that guide your judgment. This awareness builds trust in yourself. When you stop being fooled by words that only sound right, you become stronger. You make better choices. You walk away from people who promise much but deliver little. You stop explaining away contradictions. You begin to believe what you observe, not just what you're told. People who speak truth consistently will earn your trust over time. You won't need to question them often. Their words and actions will align, but those who only speak what sounds right will constantly leave you uncertain. You'll feel it in your chest even if you can't explain it yet. Listen to that. It's your awareness telling you the truth is missing. Every conversation holds signals. You don't need to be perfect at reading them. You just need to stay honest with yourself. Does what you're hearing match what you're experiencing? If it doesn't, the truth might be hidden beneath the surface of the right-sounding words. Pay attention to the space between the lines. That's where the real story lives. Chapter 8. Judge character through small daily actions. You don't need to wait for big moments to know who someone really is. You don't need to see how they act during a crisis or how they perform under pressure to understand their character. You can judge a person by what they do every day, the unnoticed choices, the simple habits, the little things that most people think don't matter. That's where the truth lives. That's where consistency lives. That's where character reveals itself. not in what people say they value, but in how they behave when no one is asking them to prove anything. If someone shows up on time, it tells you something, not just about their schedule, but about their respect. If they make eye contact when you speak, that's not just a social skill, it reflects presence. If they speak to the waiter with kindness, that's not just manners, that's a glimpse into how they treat people when there's no benefit involved. Every small action adds up, and if you're paying attention, you'll see the pattern long before the person ever tells you what kind of person they believe they are. People reveal their priorities in how they handle everyday situations. How do they talk about others behind their back? How do they respond when someone else gets recognition? What do they do when they make a mistake? How do they act when they're tired or inconvenienced, or not getting attention? These aren't dramatic moments, but they're deeply revealing. If someone shows grace during boring days and pressure-free environments, that grace is real. It wasn't forced. It wasn't for show. It's part of who they are. Consistency in small actions is the foundation of trust. If a person is kind when they're in a good mood, but cold when things aren't going their way, then their kindness is conditional. But if they show up with calm, steady energy day after day, even when no one is watching, then their character isn't shaped by mood. It's shaped by integrity. Watch how someone treats people they don't need. That's one of the fastest ways to measure someone's true values. It's easy to be friendly to a boss, charming to a client, or polite to someone with status. But the real test is how they speak to the cashier, the janitor, the delivery driver. Do they ignore them? Do they smile? Do they thank them without expecting anything in return? That tells you more than any big speech about morals or values. Also, pay attention to how someone handles being wrong. Do they accept responsibility without turning it into a performance? Do they apologize without adding excuses? Or do they shift the blame, laugh it off, or downplay the impact? That behavior shows maturity. It shows ownership. And ownership is a core part of character. People who carry self-respect take their actions seriously. They don't hide behind clever words. They clean up their mess when needed. Character also lives in how people keep their word. If someone says they'll do something and follows through without needing reminders, that speaks volume. If they make a promise and stick with it, even when it's no longer convenient, they're telling you what kind of reliability you can expect in the future. And if they don't follow through, especially on small things, that's not just forgetfulness, it may reflect how they view commitment in general. You can also read a person's heart in how they use their time. Do they give attention to what matters, or do they always seem too busy for people who care about them? Time is one of the clearest ways to see values. People make time for what they value, not once, not when it's easy, but consistent. If someone only shows up when it benefits them, they're revealing something important, and you shouldn't overlook it. How someone handles your boundaries tells you who they are at a deeper level. Do they respect your space, your time, your energy, even when it's not what they prefer? Or do they guilt trip, pressure, or ignore your limits to serve their own wants? These moments might feel small, but they speak clearly. Character honors limits. It doesn't try to bend them. Also, look at how someone reacts to the success of others. Do they celebrate with ease, or do they get quiet and distant? Do they find something negative to say, or do they lift others up without feeling threatened? Insecure people struggle with other people's wins. Strong character is secure enough to support others, even when they're still building themselves.
The way someone handles silence says something too. Some people can sit with you in quiet and be fully present. They're not performing, they're just there. That comfort in stillness reflects emotional depth. Others feel the need to constantly talk, impress, or entertain. That's not wrong, but it often points to discomfort with vulnerability or authenticity. Notice how people show up when there's nothing in it for them. Do they help because it's right, or because it earns them praise? Do they offer without posting about it, or making it a story? Generosity done quietly is one of the purest signs of solid character. It's not about recognition, it's about intention. Another powerful thing to notice is how someone talks about themselves. Do they exaggerate? Do they constantly need to be the hero in their stories? Or do they speak with humility and self-awareness? People who are grounded don't need to impress with words. They let their life speak for itself. You don't need a background check to know who you're dealing with. Just spend time. Pay attention. Watch the rhythm of their day-to-day actions. How they start their mornings. How they respond to inconvenience. How they handle stress when it's small, not overwhelming. If someone panics at every little challenge, their foundation is shaky. But if someone keeps their balance when things get annoying, you're seeing emotional control. Character doesn't show up in one big event. It reveals itself in hundreds of small decisions. How someone behaves when you're 5 minutes late. How they talk when they're tired. How they handle something they don't want to do, but agreed to anyway. These are the places where the real person shows up. It's not about being perfect. Everyone has bad days. Everyone gets annoyed. What matters is the pattern. One off day doesn't define someone, but repeated small actions paint a full picture. And if that picture shows reliability, kindness, awareness and humility, that's someone you can trust. If it shows dismissiveness, blame or selfishness in subtle ways, that's someone you'll want to be cautious with. Judge character by what people do when they think it won't be remembered. Because the truth is, it always adds up. It builds trust, or it breaks it. And the strongest relationships, teams and partnerships, are not built on image. They're built on the solid ground of consistent small actions. Character doesn't need to be announced. It just needs to be noticed. Every day offers you proof of who people are. Learn to watch for it, listen for it, and trust what it shows you. Because the people who show up with honesty and effort in the little things, they're the ones who will stand strong when life gets big.
Chapter 9. Understand moods by energy and timing. Moods are not always explained with words. Most people won't tell you exactly how they feel, and even when they try, the words don't always match what's really going on inside. But if you pay attention to someone's energy and timing, you'll begin to understand their emotional state without needing them to say a thing. Moods speak through presence, tone, behavior, and rhythm. They speak through when someone reaches out, how they enter a room, how long they pause before answering, and what their presence feels like before they even speak. You can learn more about how someone feels by watching when and how they show up than by listening to what they say about how they feel. Energy never lies. It arrives before the person does. When someone is at peace, their energy feels open. You feel relaxed in their presence. When someone is agitated, even if they smile and greet you politely, something feels off. You may not know exactly what it is at first, but your body knows. You feel the tension in the air. You feel their restlessness, even when they try to stay still. This is why it's so important to stop relying only on words and start noticing presence. Energy speaks before language ever begins. Every person has a certain rhythm to how they move, talk, and respond. That rhythm shifts with mood. Someone who usually responds quickly might take longer when they're overwhelmed. Someone who normally talks a lot may go quiet when they're carrying stress. These timing shifts matter. They're not accidents. They're subtle emotional signals. Most people overlook them because they're too focused on the words, but timing tells the real story. The delay, the hesitation, the early exit, the slow reply, the rushed response. These all carry meaning. When someone reaches out at unusual times, that can be a mood marker. A late-night message from someone who usually keeps their distance might be a sign they're feeling something deeply. A last-minute cancellation from someone normally dependable might reflect mental fatigue. A change in how and when someone makes contact is often the first clue that their internal world is shifting. Don't ignore those changes. They may not explain them, but they're asking to be seen. Pay attention to patterns. One day of different energy doesn't mean much, but when someone's energy shifts repeatedly, it's telling you that something inside them is unsettled. Maybe they're going through something. Maybe they're uncertain about the connection. Maybe their priorities are changing. You don't always need to ask. You just need to notice. Consistent changes in energy almost always signal emotional movement. Moods also live in space. How close someone stands, how much they engage, how long they stay. All these things tell you what they feel safe with and what they feel pulled away from. A person in a light-hearted mood might lean in, laugh freely, linger in the moment. A person who's holding something back might physically retreat, cut the conversation short, or keep their movements small and contained. The body is always honest. It reflects the emotional load a person is carrying, even when they don't mean to show it. You also see mood in attention. When someone is fully present, they're emotionally available. When they're distracted, restless, or always checking their phone, it's a sign their mind is somewhere else. That's not always a bad thing. People have lives and responsibilities, but when that shift in attention becomes the new pattern, it usually means something emotional has shifted too. Understanding someone's mood through energy and timing doesn't make you a mind reader. It makes you emotionally aware. It allows you to respond with wisdom instead of assumption. You don't always need to ask, "Are you okay?" Sometimes it's more powerful to simply match their pace, hold space, and show up without pressure. People open up more when they feel seen without being interrogated. Moods can also be felt in silence. There's a difference between peaceful quiet and uncomfortable tension. You feel it in the air. You feel it in how heavy or light the moment is. You feel it in how someone breathes. Quick, shallow breaths may reflect anxiety. Slower, deeper breaths often reflect calm. These are signals that most overlook, but they're the core of emotional awareness. Timing also shows up in how people respond to specific topics. If you bring up something meaningful and the person answers quickly, that can suggest emotional readiness. If they delay, pause too long, or change the subject entirely, that may point to discomfort. Again, this isn't about judging anyone. It's about noticing what the emotional state allows in that moment. Timing reveals emotional capacity. You also learn a lot by how someone enters and exits situations. A person who walks in quietly
avoids eye contact, and keeps their body closed, may be feeling vulnerable or detached. A person who exits without much presence may be emotionally drained. These things aren't obvious unless you're paying attention, but they tell the whole story if you are. People don't always communicate clearly, especially when their mood is off. Instead of waiting for them to say something's wrong, learn to read the signs early. This allows you to respond gently, with understanding. It protects your own energy too. You stop taking things personally. You stop misreading distance as disinterest. You begin to understand emotional movement as part of being human. Sometimes the best thing you can do is adjust your own energy to match what someone needs. If they're in a low space, lower your speed. If they're high energy and joyful, join that joy without restraint. This isn't about becoming someone else. It's about creating emotional safety. People feel safe around those who meet them where they are, without trying to fix or force. Moods shift all the time, and that's normal. But when someone's timing and energy change repeatedly over days or weeks, that shift has meaning. Maybe they're changing on the inside. Maybe something's weighing on them. Maybe the relationship dynamic is shifting. Don't ignore the signs. People rarely explain these things directly. Most expect you to feel it, and if you don't, the connection starts to lose depth. Understanding mood through energy and timing also teaches you how to manage your own emotional habits. Start noticing when your energy drops, when your responses become slower or sharper, when your timing shifts from engaged to withdrawn. Those patterns tell you when you need rest, reflection, or reconnection. The more aware you are of your own emotional timing, the more tuned in you become to others. You'll find that the more you practice this, the less you need people to explain themselves. You'll start noticing more during the first 5 minutes of interaction than most people see in an hour. You'll begin to read the room, the person, and the moment, not through words, but through presence. This doesn't mean you never ask questions, but it means you ask better ones. Not from confusion, but from care. Not from frustration, but from curiosity. People feel the difference, and they open up more easily when they sense you already understand more than they've said. Being emotionally present isn't a talent, it's a practice. Every day, you have chances to slow down and tune in. Listen with more than your ears, observe with more than your eyes, feel with more than your mind. When you do, you'll start understanding people not by what they explain, but by how they move, how they respond, and how their energy speaks without needing permission. That's the kind of awareness that changes relationships, builds trust, and gives you the power to connect at the level that truly matters.
Chapter 10. Train your mind to read people fast. Reading people fast is not a gift you're born with, it's a skill you train. It's built by paying attention to what others ignore. It's shaped through repetition, reflection, and presence. The mind becomes sharper with practice. The more you focus on real human behavior in daily life, the faster your ability grows. You don't need years of study. You need consistency, awareness, and the discipline to observe without distraction. When you train your mind to read people quickly, you start seeing things for what they are, not what you hope or assume they might be. The first step to training your mind is learning how to slow down inside. You can't read others clearly if your own thoughts are scattered. Mental noise blocks clarity. You miss the small shifts. You rush through interactions. You react instead of seeing. Train your awareness by being fully present during conversations, even the small ones. Don't multitask. Don't plan your next response while someone is speaking. Just observe. Notice their body, their tone, their pace. That moment of stillness in your own mind gives space for accuracy to form. Start with what's visible. Body language gives you instant access to someone's comfort or discomfort. Look at posture. Notice how open or closed someone is. Notice if their hands are relaxed or fidgeting.